Welcome everyone. We'll just wait a couple minutes while people arrive and we'll get started soon. For those of you who are just coming in, we'll wait a couple more minutes for people to arrive. We might just wait one more minute for some last people to filter on through and we'll get started. Sean, if you're happy, we might get started now.
Sure, no worries, Tori.
I might just ask Sean that you mute your microphone just so that dinging stops while we're all doing that. Thank you. Okay, good evening, families, and welcome to our Year 7 Information Evening. For those who I have not met yet, my name is Tori Whitten, and I'm the Year 7 Pastoral Leader for 2023. This means really that I act as your child's go-to person during their first year at St Mary's College. It's my responsibility to lead the Year 7 team in making your child feel safe, connected, and excited to learn with us every day. To begin with, we will start with an acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the Boonwurrung people of the Kulin Nation as the traditional owners and custodians of the land used by St Mary's College and pay our respects to their elders past and present. We are inspired and nurtured by their wisdom, spirituality and experience. We commit ourselves to actively work alongside First Nations people for reconciliation and justice. As we take our next step, we remember the first footsteps taken on this sacred land. I will now recite the St Mary's College prayer. Within this prayer, we make special mention to our school's founding father, Edmund Rice, and also Nano Nagel, the leader of the Presentation Sisters. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Amen. Jesus, our Father, Mary, our Mother, pour out your Spirit upon the students, staff, and families who make up the St Mary's College community. Teach us to show your love to others so that everyone is welcomed and hope-filled. Guided by the spirit of Blessed Edmund Rice, we strive to live out our values of respect, justice, and compassion, inclusivity, and courage in all we do. We ask this through Christ, our Lord. Blessed Edmund Rice, pray for us. Nano Nagel, pray for us. Live Jesus in our hearts forever. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Amen. Okay. So, as pastoral leader, the first thing I want to make clear is that you are very welcome here. We are thrilled with the kindness and compassion that the incoming Year 7 cohort have already shown us during Fun Club, and I really look forward to the year ahead. The bridge between primary and high school can sometimes be filled with some nerves and uncertainty. Whilst a degree of nerves is unavoidable, what I can promise is that our school will work to ensure that it also holds growth, adventure, and a surety of who to turn to for support. Thank you for trusting us with this responsibility. Tonight, our goal is to answer some commonly asked questions surrounding Year 7 at our college. I'm sure for a lot of families, this is the first time they are experiencing what high school is like, and so there's a lot of unknown. Something that is important to begin with is what we stand for as a school. We have 4 non-negotiables that are a focus of Year 7. We come back to these points during community meetings, in classrooms, and the broader community. They are that we treat each other with respect and work as a team, we have a positive attitude, we take responsibility and accountability for our actions, and we take pride in our academic culture. We are a school for all, and through upholding these points, we can ensure that this vision is maintained. Now on to the evening. If you have any questions, please leave them in the chat box on the top of the screen. This is separate to the Q&A box, but the chat box specifically would like you to ask the questions. At the end of the session, we will read questions directly from this chat section to allow for smooth and concise communication. In this presentation, we will provide some insight on teaching and learning diversity, well-being, sporting and musical opportunities, communication, camp, and some key events for Term 1. To begin the night, though, Mr. Terry Blizzard, our principal, will say a quick hello. Thanks, Terry.
Thanks, Tori, and a quick hello to everybody. And good evening. Welcome, everyone. It's great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm looking forward to actually catching up and having a cup of tea with you tomorrow. I'm really excited to have the kids come back as one big cohort. It's always a really fun, energy-filled day, so I'm looking forward to that. Tonight begins the partnership, which is so important to us, and a partnership between families and between the college. So it's a really special night. Very quickly, we had the Year 12 graduation recently, and only in the past weeks, and I spoke to them about the key moments in their lives, and certainly starting prep was one of them, but starting secondary school was a very key moment in their life, and ironically they were graduating from finishing their time at school, and there's about 110 of them, and they were full of stories and wonderful reflections and memories. So it was such a good night, and you're heading off on that journey, and a journey that you're sharing with us. It is an exciting time for the kids, but it's an exciting time for you too as parents. So welcome. Thank you for joining us. I won't hold you up because there's lots of information to gain tonight. So thanks, Tori.
Thanks, Terry. We'll now hear from Miss Bev Pettit, and she's going to talk about teaching and learning at our school. Thanks, Bev.
Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to St Mary's College. As your sons and daughters embark on their last phase of their school life, we are so excited that you have chosen St Mary's and entrusted their learning to us. They will have a variety of experiences which will enrich their learning while they're at the college. St Mary's is a place where each student is known and challenged to perform at their very best. We've designed a Year 7 program that allows students to experience all the subjects on offer at St Mary's. So if we can go to our next slide, please. There we go. So these are all the subjects that they will be studying next year. Religious education is obviously an important part of our Catholic culture in the college, and really teaches values of social justice and compassion for others. So it really enriches their lives as part of our college. And then we have our core subjects, and very excitingly, they get to experience 2 languages throughout the year, Italian and Japanese. And VAPA, we have really expanded our VAPA and design and technologies in the college over the past few years, and they'll have a full year of art, music, and drama, and then semesters of food and materials and a whole year of Digitech. So we're very excited to offer all of those for them. They will have some choices when they're in year 8 in the languages, VAPA, and design technologies. So onto our next slide. We strongly do believe, as Terry's just said, that our learning is a partnership between families and our college. And this is one of the ways that we partner with you. David will explain a little bit more around PAM, our Parent Access Module, which you will have access to shortly. But any aspect of learning that happens in the college, you can view this on your PAM. And so you will get your end of semester reports through PAM. It's circled at the top in green. Excitingly, we have lesson plans that our teachers prepare, which are just the courses that they'll be studying in class, and you have access to that, and you'll be able to see what your sons and daughters are learning, and maybe give them a little bit of a helping hand at home. The last little green circle is if you need to email staff. This is the place that you can find all their emails. And then highlighted in blue, and the screen that you can see, all their assessments throughout the year will show on your PAM, and you can see what are active tasks and what are overdue tasks, and really help your sons and daughters to make the very best of their learning at the college. I too am excited about seeing you tomorrow morning and having a cup of tea with you, but thank you for this evening.
Thank you, Bev. We will now hear from Ms. Christodidis, who will speak on learning diversity at St Mary's. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Tori. Welcome, and again, thank you for entrusting your children with us, and congratulations on making such a wise decision as sending your children to St Mary's College. I've been at the college for quite a while now, and I really think that it's somewhere that you'll be very pleased to have your children, and we're really looking forward to having them as part of the community. The learning diversity area primarily looks after those students who require perhaps a little bit of extra support with their learning. And this can be for a variety of reasons. It might be that they've fallen behind a little. It might be that they need some extension because they're not being challenged enough. It may be because they have some diagnosed learning difficulties or other conditions that impact on their learning. I organise all the learning support officers and allocate them into some of the classroom supports, but we also have some programs where there's small group withdrawal and students receive pre-teaching, literacy and numeracy support, consolidating of the learning that they're doing in classrooms and things. Many of you have already been in contact, and that's been absolutely fantastic. The more information we have the earlier on, the better we're able to put the supports in place, and it helps us to paint the picture of your particular child. It allows us to see each individual and plan out their learning pathway in the way that best suits their style of learning. If you have any diagnostic reports or any areas of concern that you think that we should be aware of, it's not a matter of labelling students. It is a matter of allowing us to understand how they learn so that we can ensure that right from the beginning we are supporting their needs, rather than perhaps waiting until second semester and thinking, gee, they're not doing so well in this area, or I wonder what's going on there. It's all about keeping that communication open. For those of you whom I'm aware of, you may well receive an email within the coming days inviting you to consider a reduced subject load for your child where they won't perhaps do a language, Italian or Japanese, but they'll come out into this small group support. It's by no means mandatory. It's entirely a discussion for you and your daughter or your son to see whether you think it would be beneficial, and there'll be a link on that you can complete a form showing your consent or that your indication that, look, we'll think about this and yes, we might do it, but maybe later on down the track. If you've got any information, any questions, either later on in the evening or as a follow-up to the email that comes out, please don't hesitate to send me an email. This week there's lots of meetings on, so probably best to email me and I'll give you a return call, return email at a time that suits us both. So again, looking forward to seeing you. I'm one of the Year 7 pastoral teachers next year, so I'll actually have some of your children in my homeroom and I'll be sort of looking forward to catching up and meeting them tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Now we're actually going to hear from another Chris, Mr. Chris Pye, who is our head of students, and he's going to speak a little bit about wellbeing at St Mary's College. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Tori, and thank you very much, everyone, for coming along tonight. And I just echo what other people have said. We're really looking forward to meeting you all tomorrow and welcome daughters to our school. It'll be a great morning. I'm going to be talking to you tonight really about two things. One, our vision for wellbeing, which will come up in a moment on a slide. And then I guess I'll also talk about the structures and programs that we have in place to realise that vision and to create that really positive platform for students to enjoy their days at school and really try their best in the classroom and, as I said, have positive experiences. The first predicate of the wellbeing visual is that sense of belonging, and we know that when students have that sense of belonging, it is a real platform for success. And the primary vehicle for that sense of belonging is the pastoral care group, of which Chris will be a valued member next year. And it's a great place to build those relationships and have that friendly, warm and inclusive start and really be part of something. The second element is a care. We're a compassionate school, a proudly compassionate school, and we really support our students, during the good times and the difficulties that also arise as well. We're a school that's very focused on positive relationships and ensuring that there's kind and fair-minded interactions between our students and, of course, between teachers and students. We're a student voice school. We've got highly intelligent, thoughtful, worldly students that can really add to our college with their ideas and initiatives, and we look to bring those to fruition. And probably the last one that I think is maybe the most important is that we focus on strengths. We really want to acknowledge the strengths of our students, and we want to encourage them to use those strengths so that they can really find meaning at school and enjoy it, and of course push through any adversity that they might find. I might just quickly whip to the next slide, and as you can see, our layers of pastoral care at the college are quite diffuse and significant. We've got the pastoral teacher, such an important role every day, having that friendly, familiar face, really important. Our pastoral leaders, who again are really important sounding blocks for the students. Myself in my role of Director of Students, we've got a wonderful college counsellor. And I guess the last point is that subject teachers are very, very important towards the pastoral care of all their students. They don't just teach the subject, they have that investment in their wellbeing as well. Sort of moving on to some of our key programs, we are a Respectful Relationships partner school, and we have Respectful Relationships lessons that take place fortnightly, and they're really engaging and contemporary and focus on very relevant topics like emotional literacy, personal strengths, gender and identity, and then very practical stuff like stress management and organisation. We have a wellbeing data service called Pulse, where students record how they're feeling and how they're going, and it allows us to tailor our pastoral care towards the individual, and we really can help to intervene early if there are some struggles and some difficulties. We also have a commendation structure where teachers record instances of great decisions and great actions from our students. And this is something that really was a big part of this year. And we actually distributed 1,000 commendation certificates this year, which was a real buzz for all involved. Of course, I mentioned student voice before, but we've got the college prefects, campus captains, peer mentors, SRC leaders, and the student voice committee. And we also have a peer mentoring program with year 10s working with the year 7s. So that's another really big program of the school too. I guess by way of conclusion, your child will be known at our school, and we really seek to be a warm and friendly school and a welcoming school. We are a respectful and inclusive community. That's just so central to what we do. There's a great opportunity to strike up a sense of belonging and connectedness. And finally, we really, really care for our students, and we encourage them and we support them in the good times and in the difficult times. And of course, we link in very much with you guys as well during all those times. So that's probably it from me. And thank you everyone for listening. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.
Thanks, Chris. Now what I'm going to do is just really quickly go through a few fundamentals of Year 7. These are some commonly asked questions that I'm sure some students and perhaps parents are a little bit curious about. The first one is the structure of our day. So school starts at St. Mary's at 8:30 a.m. and it ends at 3:10 p.m. We have 5 periods in our day. That means we have 5 different subjects that students will do per day, and each of those go for 1 hour. Your child should be ready and lining up outside of their classroom by 8:30 a.m. That's when we begin our pastoral care, which is 10 minutes at the start of the day where their pastoral care teacher checks in with the students, talks them through what's happening that day, answers any questions that they may have, and just sets them up for a really positive day. In order to get to school at 8:30, in order to get to the classroom at 8:30, I should say, you should be striving to get to school at the very latest by 8:20 a.m. That makes sure that you've got time to go to your locker, check what you've got for period 1 and get all your books sorted out by that time. Secondly, I've gotten a couple of questions about the IT policy. So many students have a phone in Year 7. For a lot of the time, it's for safety reasons, catching public transport, and that's totally fine. Our policy, though, is that when you get to school, your phone stays in your locker. Okay, you don't have your phone on you because school is to learn and to socialize and to connect with other people, and it makes sure that that's occurring. Further, each student has their own laptop that you bring to class, and this laptop is for one reason, and that is to learn. We have some textbooks that we access on our laptop. We use some online programs and research, things like that. A laptop isn't for games, it is purely for learning. Another question I've gotten asked is how the lockers in the classrooms work. So in primary school, you have mostly all of your subjects in the one classroom, and this is quite similar to Year 7. We have majority of our classes in our Year 7 pastoral room. We will go to some specialist classrooms like the science labs if you're doing some experiments, or the woodwork room if you're doing woodwork, or the food tech kitchen if you're doing food tech. But a lot of your core subjects will be in that pastoral room. And I should say as well, all the subjects in Year 7, you will be with your pastoral group for all of your subjects throughout the year. So that's really similar to grade 6, where you're with the same people all the time. That happens in Year 7 as well, because we really want to make sure that you're fostering those connections and are able to really build the friendships within that one group. I'll also speak briefly on locks. In year 6 and in primary school, most people probably have tubs just underneath your table. In Year 7, we've actually got a locker, and this locker is located in the Year 7 area. and you will receive a specific lock with your own code to make sure that all of your belongings stay safe. I want to pass on to year 6 or year 7 students now, I should say, not to worry if you don't know how to use a lock. We will teach you all of that next year, and we understand that this does take time, so don't worry about that. And finally, I just wanted to mention that some students might be feeling a little bit uneasy or unsure, thinking that, oh, I don't know many people coming into St. Mary's next year. Oh, what if everyone knows everyone and I don't know anyone? I just want to make clear there are many students coming into year 7 next year who actually don't know anyone else. Okay, we have people coming from all across different parts of Melbourne. So if you're thinking, oh, I don't know anyone, you're definitely not going to be the only person. I'm aware that it can be a little nerve-wracking and exciting, but for some people, a little nerve-wracking, the idea of making new friends and starting again. And because of that, we have some really great initiatives to combat that. In term 1, we have lots of clubs that we're planning on running. We have IT club, planning on starting a film club, a board games club, lots of different outlets, sports clubs as well, sports games, lots of different outlets for you to be able to connect with other people. So please know that even though you may be a bit nervous, it's also very exciting, and I'm confident with the support of your pastoral teacher and myself that you'll get comfortable very soon. So that's enough on that. I'm now actually going to ask Sean, our Deputy Principal, to speak on behalf of Lucy McEwen, because she's not able to make it tonight, about some sporting opportunities at our school. Thanks, Sean. And yeah, that picture, that's not Sean, everyone, just so we're aware. That's Lucy.
Thanks, Tori. And I did deliberately leave Lucy's picture up there just in case we have probably a number of our families that haven't met Lucy yet, but you will soon enough. She really does coordinate and run all facets of sport in the college, and she is someone that most of our families get to know really, really well, particularly if you become connected to the sporting program and get involved in inter-school sporting competitions, which I'll get into a bit of detail with now. Okay. So I guess what I'd like to try and explain a little bit tonight is the difference in the way that we conduct our sports activities based on houses, but also based on inter-school. So we'll look to explain that a little bit. Just at the moment, in terms of our inter-school sporting competition, it occurs weekly, but as well as that, we also have carnivals. So for the major sports such as swimming, athletics, and cross country, and there are a few more as well, most of those day competitions. So they only run on a particular day, and we build up to those in the weeks and in the months prior with training and with selections, which we'll get into a bit of detail on as well. So for students in year 7, there's no need for concern or rush. Students in year 7 don't actually engage in weekly sport in the first term. We allow year 7 students to come into the school, to find their feet, to get to know each other, and then to start to register their interest in the different types of sports that they'd like to be taking part of. So students, as it says here, will receive an email which indicate the sports on offer, and then how, where, and when to sign up. So students do come out of class, so that does happen. We have our students coming out of class in order to represent the college. So it happens within the school day. There are some school sporting competitions that take place on Friday nights or Saturday mornings, and that's not how we do it. We do it during the school day and give students hopefully the opportunity to feel as though they can participate without it having an impact on other aspects of their home, work, or family life. Also, trials and training, a lot of that happens. There's lots of communication internally at the school, and this is where homeroom becomes really important, which was mentioned a little earlier. Lots and lots of information comes through homeroom teachers, through pastoral care teachers in the morning, around when there are training, when there are sign-ups, who the coaches might be, and how to make sure that you're involved. And the pastoral care teachers will really be the holders of that information, which is great. Our inter-school sporting opportunities are, as it says, they're optional. They are most certainly optional, and they are for students to register their interest in. And at times, parents will also make inquiries around that as well, and that's absolutely encouraged. Also, our house sport occurs in carnivals and or school-based galas. So the way that it works with our house sports is we have really 3 major carnivals, and 2 of them happen really, really early on in the year. And I have quite a lengthy list of key dates in term 1 to go through a little later on, but just to let you know, it'll actually be the 3rd day of the school year that we will have our swimming carnival this year. And only a couple of weeks later, we will have our athletics carnival. So really early on in the year, fantastic opportunities to make really strong connections within houses where students in year 7 right through to year 12 work together and interact with one another in what ends up being a really fun-filled, jam-packed sort of couple of days. And the last point there, Lucy would have made sure that I made mention of this, that sport and HPE are different. So we really do refer to our sporting opportunities as being those things outside of the classroom, such as inter-school sporting competitions that students can connect to and take part in, whereas HPE is health and physical education as a classroom-based learning area. So that's an aspect of our learning as opposed to an outside of the classroom sporting opportunity. Hopefully I got that one right for Lucy. Okay, these are our 4 houses, Tevlin, O'Shea, McMahon and Corbett. And as it says on your screen there, we have our major sporting carnivals taking place across the year, with 2 happening very, very early on in this year. So each student will be placed into, if they're not aware of them yet, they'll be placed into one of the 4 houses here to ensure we've got really strong and equal representation across the college. And that house that you're placed into stays with you throughout your entire time at St Mary's College. Okay, a little bit more detail, and you can see some things on the screen there that are a little bit more organisational than anything. So I'll let you perhaps have a read of that as I'm going through what's also on the screen, which is the important bits. So Friday the 3rd of February, as I said, is the 3rd day of the school year. We commence with our welcome day on Wednesday the 1st of February. Then we have a full day of classes the next day, and the day after that is our house swimming carnival at Paran Aquatic Centre. And our students do go straight there. Now, I do know that in the past, Tori, and you can just sort of nod along there, we do often ask if any students, particularly in year 7, would like to meet at school. It's about a 15, maybe 20-minute walk from school, and there's usually a walking group. If anyone has any concerns, they can certainly come to school by around about 8 o'clock and then walk down there with Tori and a couple of other staff members. It is very much about wearing school uniform, sports uniform, but then also just with a touch of colour as well. So if you happen to be in Tevlin House, you'd want to make sure that you have something on you that is representing your house or identifying you as Tevlin, which is our blue house. So that's how we would normally ensure that the day is really identifiable in the stands, in house groups. It's a fantastic opportunity at our house swimming carnival. Also tomorrow, and Tori might go through this at some point, but just to mention, tomorrow the sign up for our swimming carnival, given that it is the 3rd day of the year, will take place. So we'll be really organised tomorrow, make sure in advance we know exactly who's swimming in what and how we're all organised for that day. And as it also mentions, there's it's an early finish. It's a 1 p.m. finish. It's a lot to get through in that period of time, but we do finish at 1 o'clock on that day. For our athletics carnival, that takes place, as I said, 2 weeks later at Lakeside Stadium in Albert Park, which is a massive stadium, but we fill up part of it, and then certainly fill up the track and the field with lots and lots of activities. And there's usually just people going everywhere on the day to make sure they are there for the core events that they've been placed into, and lots of additional ones that they sign up for as well. So once again, straight to the venue, homerooms conducted by homeroom teachers on site, rolls are taken as per usual, and again, whilst we have a 1:30 finish, it's a slightly shorter day than normal. We once again strongly encourage students to be wearing their sports uniform with a touch of colour from their house as well, just to make sure that representation is really, really strong. Our house cross country takes place basically on site, I would say. It's in Alma Park, which is just out the back of the Edmund Rice campus, which involves, as it says there, during the school day, students participating in some form of running, but really based on their own capacity. We don't ask, students in year 7 who might not be able to run a huge distance to go and run a 10-kilometre run and do it perfectly. So it's very much based on strength and capacity. Also wanted to make mention that our house sports, particularly with swimming and athletics taking place so early on in the year, they're a fantastic opportunity, even for our Year 7 students, to go through a process where coaches of our ACC, which is the Associated Catholic Colleges Inter-School Sporting Competition that we're in, it's a great opportunity for the coaches of the swimming and athletics teams to be able to watch, take notes, and really get lots of information, particularly on our Year 7 students who we are only just getting to know, and really start to select teams to take place in that inter-school sporting competition of both athletics and swimming, which takes place in term 1 also. So yeah, we do look for those opportunities, and then from there start to invite students, if they aren't putting their hand up, to ensure that they are a part of our major ACC inter-school sporting carnivals. Last one there, non-participation. On occasion, some students will feel as though, or perhaps there's a particular reason why a student can't participate in some aspect of what I'm talking about here. And please do just communicate that directly to Lucy McEwen, and she'll ensure that there are notes kept, and that those people involved in running those days are really well aware of some students who might not be able to participate for certain reasons. I'll hand back to yourself, Tori, to then pass over to Louisa. Thanks.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Sean. Now, Miss Louisa Lawless, who is our head of music at St. Mary's, will speak briefly on musical opportunities at our school. Thanks, Louisa.
Thanks, Tori. Good evening, everybody. My name is Louisa Lawless, and I'm the Director of Music at St. Mary's College. If you are an existing parent and perhaps you're bringing a sibling to the school, you'll notice that music has changed next year. Tori, would you mind going to our first slide, please? Thanks. So there are 3 main elements to music at the college, which is really hugely fast growing part of our college. The first part is the curriculum music program, which is our classroom lessons, which students in Year 7 have once a week. Now this year, it's a full year of music. So just take note, if you're an existing parent, that's that change. The second thing is instrumental tuition, which is a huge part of our program. We have nearly, we're coming up to 100 students involved in the instrumental tuition program, having private lessons. I'll go into detail shortly. And then finally, the extracurricular music program. So just getting back to curriculum music, for one semester, all students are provided with an instrument. That's from the concert band arena. So instruments such as a trumpet or a flute, a violin. We have percussion, i.e. drums, all woodwind instruments. Students get to try them out and select the instrument which suits them. So actually, I will actually be running that tomorrow as part of your rotation. So hopefully tomorrow you'll get to have a really good look at the different instruments and maybe even try some and really get an idea of what you would like to play for one semester. This is all part of the program, and it's free for you to do that. And this is taught by 3 instrumental tutors within the Year 7 program, so there's plenty of support. Students are expected to practice each week as their homework during that semester. And the other semester is a classroom orientated semester with me. And so the students will create, perform and respond. And what that means is that we actually use online composition software where students, it's called Muse, Muse Score, and the students actually compose their own music based on what we've learned, and they're able to perform as well on not just those instruments that they did in the first semester, but also perform on drums and on classroom instruments. We do quite a lot of vocal work in that semester as well. Now, moving on to the instrumental tuition, as you can see on the slide, woodwind, brass, strings, drums, voice, and piano. Now, the strings actually includes guitar, bass guitar, violin, viola, and cello. Now, instrumental tuition is taught by our private instrumental tutors. There are 6 of those, and they're all extremely experienced. Now, this is something that is charged to your family fee account. This is something that you need to sign up to. What I will do at the very beginning of the year is I will send out a link to all parents, which will allow you to sign up to your various lessons, and you can look at the different fees and account details on PAM, and there will be something in the music section which allows you to have a look at all the different rules or the different ways that we can actually organize your lesson. They are on a rotating timetable in that it is designed so that your child never misses the same lesson at any point during the term. And if there are particular lessons or reasons why you want a particular time, you just need to communicate directly with me and I ensure that that happens. I would encourage you to get involved in the instrumental tuition program as soon as possible if that's something you would like to do. It does not replace, or I should say the curriculum music where you get the free instrument does not replace instrumental tuition. It is very different. The idea of the instrumental program in the classroom is to deliver the curriculum through practical learning. Instrumental tuition is a one-to-one based system where your child will be able to excel on their instrument. I do subscribe to the Amy B exam board, and so our students next year will be able to take exams on gradings between preliminary up to grade 8 with the college, and we would organise that as and when that's required. Now, the extracurricular programme involves symphonic band, performance band, big band, rock band, string ensemble, 2 choirs, drumline and a brass ensemble. We are a very, very busy department. We also are involved in the ACC music program, and so we have various opportunities throughout the year to go to workshops which are based on the instrumental group that your child is involved in. We are also, as you can see at the very bottom there, we've got the most exciting thing of the year, which is the college musical for 2023. I'm able to announce that that will be The Wizard of Oz, and that the music and drama department primarily will be delivering this. That is quite a large undertaking, as I'm sure you'll understand that there are various rehearsals and things that need to take in place. All students are invited to audition for that, no matter of their year level. And it is a very large cast, and there is also an orchestra involved. When it comes to preparing for these things, at the very early on in the year, which will again be an email about, we actually have a music camp which occurs, and during that music camp will be where we will start doing rehearsals for the college musical, as well as taking every student involved in the extracurricular music camp away for 3 days, so it's 2 nights, and it's a wonderful opportunity again to meet and get to know the music family. So I think that just about covers all the details there. So Tori, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow.
Thanks, Louisa. We'll now briefly hear from Mr. David Formosa, who will speak on communication at our school.
Thank you, Tori. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the St Mary's community. I just probably want everyone to pause for a moment, because you're receiving a hell of a lot of information this evening, and we certainly don't expect you to remember all of the information you've received. One of the biggest parts of education is communication and partnership. And so for all of those first-time secondary school parents out there, rest assured that you may be frazzled by all the information you are receiving tonight, but there are so many channels within our school community where you can access assistance, help or clarification in any way. Communication is extremely important, and it certainly has changed in the school setting. So as an example, here I am talking to my laptop rather than a face-to-face meeting. So lots of changes have happened in the last 2 years, as we know. And so we try to utilise, as a school, we try to utilise as many forms of communication as we can to ensure that our message reaches you, the parent, and your child, the student at the college. So it's very retro, but the first form of communication that you should probably consider is, if there is a concern, is to pick up the phone and make a phone call to the school. And that can be directly to their pastoral teacher, their pastoral leader, their subject teacher, or just a call to reception, whereby you may need some clarification on something in particular. We also use email, so you'd be able to email any of your child's teachers, and that's also an effective and efficient way of communicating with staff at the school. At times, there may be a lag between receiving an email and receiving a response. but we generally would anticipate that all of our staff would respond to emails within 24 hours. So that's probably something that you could expect as a parent of the school. There are other avenues of communication, and it's really important that we also utilise social media, which is very popular amongst a lot of our parent groups. So next year we're going to incorporate year level specific Facebook groups. So these will be Facebook groups that will be allocated to each year level. They'll be private groups, and that will also give us the opportunity to relay year level specific information to you through social media channels. And as well as that, we'll have our general Facebook page. It'll also give you as parents an opportunity to communicate with each other. So we've found that our parents are extremely engaged in social media, and that this can be a wonderful way of clarifying things with other parents, which can be extremely helpful, and also a very quick way of getting answers sometimes. Obviously, there will be times when we'll text message you, so you'll receive a generic text message from the college, and that is generally in a situation where we really need to get a message out to our community extremely quickly. So that's when we would use the text message. I'm just going to share my screen, and hopefully you're going to be able to see this. Let's just see. Here we go. Okay, so what you're seeing there is you're seeing the school webpage, and you can see up the top there are a number of icons. So there are quick links, and there is a login icon. So the login icon allows you to access what we call PAM, or the Parent Access Module. So if you go to PAM, and you can see I'm already logged in, this particular page will come up. Now, you'll see I'm getting this notification alert request. So what we do is we ask all parents to complete their PAM login details, and all of your information should be up to date. And if it's not up to date, every time you log into PAM, if there's a specific piece of information that we require, it will continuously give you this notification alert that we don't have all of the information we require from you, or there may have been a change. So that's just one way of us communicating to you that we need further information. So the Parent Access Module is basically what we call our learning facility, and it allows parents to access this learning facility. So you can see that there'll be information about the students. There's a number of different areas that we cover off in our knowledge bank. So there's a number of topics there, and they're direct links. We have our daily messages, and just down here, any parent notified absences occur on the Parent Access Module, and then down below we have our calendar. So there'll be a running calendar of any events. So the Parent Access Module is really a good place for you to go to as a first port of call if you need clarification on anything. And as I said, that if you needed to access that, you would go into the login feature of the website. Finally, we do have a regular newsletter. So this newsletter comes out every fortnight. So the newsletter will be emailed to you directly, and it will appear similar to this. So it'll have a number of different tiles with all of the topics for that particular week, and you can just click on any of those, and it will take you directly to that particular topic that you've clicked on. Next year in our newsletter, we'll also be having community communication, so community news, and we'll also have access to a calendar a running calendar for you to be able to access for special events. As I said, one of the biggest changes from primary to secondary school is the fact that there are so many moving parts to a secondary school. And it's really important that you as a parent understand all of the moving parts and all of the people that you need to communicate with, and to ensure that if ever there is anything that you are unsure about, that you do get clarification through the various channels that I've just alluded to. Thank you for your attention tonight.
Thank you, David. We're now going to hear from another David, who is, I'm sure, a little bit more sore than David Formosa, because he's just gotten back from a school trip doing the Great Vic bike ride. David, thank you for being here today. And if you could please speak with our families about Year 7 camp, that'd be great.
Thanks, Tori. I'm very happy to talk about Year 7 camp early next year. As many of you are probably aware from our open day and talking to us, visiting the school and perhaps even meeting me, we do an in-house outdoor ed program at St Mary's. So my teaching timetable basically says camp. I'm on camp every other week of the year. So I run all of our camps and take every single activity that goes out, which means that through the years we have a really inclusive and focused program where we deliver elements from the Victorian curriculum such as teamwork, relationships, resilience, and trying to really focus on Indigenous places as well. So everywhere we go, we'll look at that Indigenous history and link into some sustainability as well. Year 7 camp early in the year is all about relationships. It's that opportunity for kids to get to know their new classmates, and very, very importantly for us to get to know the kids and for the teachers to get to know the kids really well. So their pastoral leader will come down, their homeroom teacher. Tori will try and visit camps if she can, depending on what she's got going on at school. So for us, it's hugely important for us to get to know each individual, to have that element where your child is known and we build relationships with them nice and early, while they build relationships with each other. So Year 7 camps are in the first month and a half or so of the year, and we work with one classroom at a time. So that, again, is my teaching load, is teaching each camp. So it's myself, the class teacher, and a small team of casual staff who've worked with me for years, and we get to know the kids really, really well. Year 7, we go surfing and mountain biking down to Anglesea, and we explore Victoria's surf coast and looking at that beautiful environment we've got down there, and really just build those relationships and get to know everyone. The other thing I'm going to quickly mention, I don't want to say too much because it's been a long evening, is we've also got our family camp, which will happen towards the end of term 1. So a chance for parents to come along with their kids. And this year we went whitewater rafting down the Midda River near Romeo. Next year we're going to go back to the beach and do something similar to our Year 7 camp, so surfing and mountain biking. And later on in the year, the extra stuff that we've got for some Year 7s, if they'd like to, we have our ski trip. And Tori did mention the Great Victorian Bike Ride. Probably do that the year after. We do that biannually. That's it from me. Thanks, Tori.
Thanks, David. So we're nearly at the Q&A section of the evening, but finally, Sean will speak on a few key dates for Term 1 2023. Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Tori. Just coming back now. I just wanted to have a look at some key dates. There's a number of things that I mentioned a little earlier when I was talking about the sports carnivals, but there is so much more going on in the place other than sport. So if I could, just a couple of key points that I'd like to make here whilst it's on the screen, and you can take this in. And this is also information available to you, I believe, in the welcome pack that you received already. But our uniform shop really does reopen very early on in January, which is a great thing to be able to get there and ensure that all the pieces that you might need to start the year are in place. And our school office opens on the 20th of January. So that's another key date, just in case there is anything that sort of goes over from this year that you haven't quite filed away or you haven't quite finished, or if there's a question, the 20th of January is when the office are back on site and can certainly address any of those things. If I could talk just for a brief moment about the 1st of February, which is our welcome day, or we say photo day, because importantly it's on this day that the official formal school photograph is taken, and it's a portrait photograph taken of each individual student, which is then used for formal and official purposes, and it's also available for purchase as well. And there'll be details that will come to families very, very early on next year that explain exactly how to go about doing that. And you've probably experienced that previously in the primary school as well. And as mentioned before, the very next day, that's actually a full day of classes. So we have the welcome day. That isn't a full day of classes. What actually happens on that day across all year levels is that our students will come in for around about 2.5 to 3 hours. It's a bit different depending on the year level, but for our Year 7 students, they'll most likely be in for the longer amount of that time, and that just gives us the opportunity to get stuck into just even more detailed organisational matters and ensure that everything's in place for when classes do commence the next day. And then, as mentioned previously, the swimming carnival, house swimming carnival, with more detailed information sent to families early on next year with a letter that explains specifically where, and all those details that were on the screen before about what students need to bring with them and how they need to dress and all the rest of it. That'll all be sent out in lots and lots of detail and advance notice as well. The 9th of February is a really important one for us. This is the opportunity where we will have our Year 7 families, so students and families on site, and we'll have mass. And that night is really about our families coming into our community in a sense for the first time, even though tomorrow really is the first time. The first time next year as a Year 7 student, where we'll have mass together in the St Mary's Church, and then we'll have a barbecue or a bit of a relaxed opportunity to be together in the schoolyard, as well as some relatively less formal information sharing as well in that evening as well. It's likely to be more about parents and families meeting pastoral care teachers, so going into the homerooms of their son or daughter and actually making a connection with that first port of call person who will be so important next year. We have the immunisations, the House Athletics Carnival that I've already mentioned, and then the first of our camps, which take place quite early on. So you'll notice there that camps aren't necessarily aligned to a particular class group yet. That'll get sorted out either very, very late this year or early next year as to which camp, which individual pastoral care group will go on. And that, again, will be sent out with lots of advance notice and information. I've mentioned about the ACC Athletics Carnival. That's not to be confused with our Athletics Carnival. It's only those that have been selected to be a part of our Interschool Athletics Carnival who will be a part of that day, and again, students will be informed of that. And there we have additional camps all noted throughout. The NAPLAN taking place this year is far earlier. If you recall from grade 5, NAPLAN has taken place later in the year, but from as of next year, it's quite a bit earlier in the year, which is a nice thing to have it done, I guess you could say. On the 18th of March, a Saturday exam for 2024 academic scholarships does also take place. And our first round of parent-teacher interviews, which is an all-day event. It starts at 9 a.m. and goes through until 8 p.m. And we have those on site. And those parent-teacher interviews are for families to come on site with their son or daughter and to meet with each of their teachers. Quite a detailed booking process is created through PAM, which you've been shown briefly tonight, and something that no doubt you'll get used to relatively quickly. I think that sort of is all I'll touch on just for the moment. And the end of term, it'll just fly by just like that. And by the 6th of April, we'll be right at the end of term. And you'll note there that it's a Thursday, given that the following day, the 7th of April, is actually Good Friday next year.
All right, thank you,
Okay.
Sean. So we're up to the time of the evening where we'll answer some questions. So if you do have any specific questions that you'd like to ask our staff, now's the time to type them into the chat box. Just while everyone may be doing that, I see that some people don't know where to locate their welcome box, which has some really helpful information for you. This is a message from Elsie, who's our registrar. I think for some families, for some reason, the welcome pack has been sent to the spam folder for some families. So just check your spam folder for that welcome pack, and I'll be sure to get in contact with Elsie tomorrow for her to redistribute that if you still can't find it.
Okay, thanks, Tori. I might have a look through this. There were a number of questions coming up as we were presenting earlier on. There's a music question, for example, from when you were presenting, Louisa. So we'll work our way through this. So the first one is how many Year 7 pastoral rooms are there? There's 3. So there's 3 pastoral rooms for Year 7 for next year, and they're all in the same area, effectively. They're all sort of within the same corridor, close by to each other. And the majority of classes will take place for each Year 7 homeroom group in their homeroom group. And then, as Tori mentioned earlier on, moving out to specialist rooms such as science and music and so on. The ratio of girls to boys in each pastoral group, you've probably got the strongest numbers or most up-to-date numbers on that one. Tori, are you able to answer that one?
Yeah, so we have classes of 24 and we have 2 coeducational classes where there'll be 8 girls and 16 boys, and then we'll have 1 single sex class of 24 boys.
Okay, thanks. And I'll keep going through the questions, and there might be some that come up as we go along. Is a pastoral group the equivalent of a class in primary school? Effectively, it is. It's the equivalent of a class group in primary school, in that sense that they do all of their learning together in those groups. Okay, will the lower number of female students limit participation in inter-school sports, for example, being able to create full sporting teams in things like soccer and footy? It's a really good question. I'll answer that one in Lucy's absence. The SCSA is the girls' sporting competition. We didn't want to hit you with too many acronyms tonight, but the Associated Catholic Colleges is what has been traditionally the Boys Association, and the SCSA is the Girls Association. We have entered this year, and it will do again next year, into every single sport on offer through the SCSA. And from memory, I don't think we struggle to field too many sides. They've been quite generous, the SCSA, in allowing our students, our girls, to form teams across a number of year levels, rather than just a Year 12 football team, for example, where you might require 20 or 25 students. We've been able to put those together across a number of year levels. So we haven't had a struggle in fielding teams. We've had a few girls who have got themselves involved in lots of sports, but we've generally been okay in fielding them. What is HPE? So that's health and physical education. So it's just the, I guess, curriculum version of when I was making the distinction earlier on about the difference between sport and the subject of HPE, health and physical education. The laptops for the students provided by the school? I'm not sure the best person to answer that one. I can give a short answer in that no, we do have a BYOD, a bring your own device program in place at the school. David, is that one that you're potentially able to answer, or Tori or Terry?
I can. Perhaps I could do that. We have a BYOD program, but we have access to a range of machines that we can offer, and being able to get them in bulk means that we can get a more competitive price. We have 2 Windows machines and a Mac, and it comes with a significant warranty. So most parents, see the warranty and access their machine through the school.
Okay, how do we find out what house we are in? I'm not sure if that was answered. Someone else, I think, jumped in that it was in the welcome letter that was received. Yep.
And yeah, we'll also tell your student what house they're in tomorrow as well. So if you don't have the information yet, we'll make sure that's given to them first thing tomorrow.
Plenty of house discussion tomorrow as we sign up for athletics and swimming. Are siblings in the same house? Yes, they are. Yep, we do that. Are parents allowed to be spectators at sports events? It's an interesting question. It's been quite a while since that's just been a big tick, given the nature of COVID and so on. It's something I might actually need to just sort of leave on the shelf and get back to you about that. We have had parents attend in the past, but generally speaking, we haven't had many parents, or perhaps parents attend for a long period of time. I'm going to ask David. David, do you have an answer to that one by any chance? David Joyce, as to parents attending our sort of, let's say, the athletics carnival. Do you recall whether that's occurred in the past?
I'd say historically, Sean, they certainly have, but you're correct that post-COVID we've had a reduction in it. It's one we probably have to check with Lucy. She'll have the clear answer on that, and I'm sure she'll let everyone know as we lead up to those events next year.
She will. Yep. The communication's strong in the lead up to them. So, are you allowed to learn more than one instrument? I'll pass to you, Miss Lawless.
Thanks, Sean. Yes, absolutely. You can learn more than one instrument. You can have private lessons on any instrument that you choose to in the instrumental program. And yes, you can have more than one. The other thing is, in the instrumental program, which is the classroom program, we do prefer that they find an instrument, and what we do is we actually test them and we allow them to find out which instrument is easiest for them to learn the curriculum through, and then we prefer them to stick to that instrument. Obviously, they can They increase their knowledge as the weeks go on. However, if they find that that instrument isn't for them, I'm quite happy for them to change if there is the opportunity to do so. So yes, you can learn more than one instrument. In fact, often what happens if a student is having private instrumental lessons on piano, for example, and that's not offered in the classroom, then they'll try something different during that classroom program.
Thanks, Louisa. And there is a question there about, is electric guitar part of the program? And I already know that one. Yes, it is.
Well, it's part of the instrumental program. In terms of the classroom, if you already learn electric guitar, we actually have a bank of bass guitars. And so we have students who use the bass guitar during the classroom program and then have electric guitar lessons individually with our amazing guitar teacher, Mr. Rook.
Thank you. Next one was, when can we expect to get our PAM login details? And that was already answered within here as being part of that welcome pack as well. So, and I think there's a number of people through here, which we'll have a look at the end of our meeting tonight, Tori, to see any families who have said that they haven't received the welcome pack or there's been concern or delay with that.
Yep.
Okay. Yep, and there's another question about the house details, so house allocations, which we've already spoken about, which if that's not through anything that you've received thus far, it certainly will be clarified tomorrow. Okay. Yep, just going through a few of these. Formation day, more of an evening thing or a day thing? I think if we're talking there about next year, when I was mentioning about the welcome day being the first day, that is the Wednesday, the 1st of February, that's very much during the day. So the year 7s actually come into school from the sort of normal beginning of the day at 8:30, and their welcome day takes place until around about 12 o'clock on that day, which gives plenty of time for them to spend some time at their not new school, but still new school in one sense. If you're referring to the evening event where we have mass and then parents attending, that is an evening thing. So mass takes place at 6 p.m, followed by what we've done in the past is a barbecue in the yard, in the schoolyard, and then some time where parents, not students, but parents will go into the homerooms in order to have a conversation with pastoral care teachers and have a bit more of an intimate one-on-one conversation with them.
Sean, can I just add there that the formation day, they've got that in the evening, but there's also a special program during the day where the students learn a little bit more about the faith-based aspects of the college, learn a bit about Edmund Rice, have a chat from Father Jerome, things like that. So it's not the regular classroom program that's run. So the students have that formation of the college as a whole during the day, and then that's supported with the parents coming in the evening, the college mass and the information.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for that, Chris. Hard copy textbooks or ebooks preferred? It's really about following the book list as it's being distributed, and on most occasions, Bev, you might want to jump in on this one. Most occasions, is sort of ebooks is the path things are going down, but there might be a better answer to that question than I've got.
Thanks, Sean. Yes, most books will have a online aspect to it as well. So if you are buying second-hand textbook, you might need to, depending on what the teacher's instruction is, buy the online aspect of that book, which is a lot cheaper than buying a new textbook. So textbooks can be recycled. It's just the online aspect of it is a 1-year subscription. And so if you are getting secondhand textbooks, you might need to buy that online subscription as well.
Thanks, Bev. And the next question is, when do we find out our class, which I would say is tomorrow's work? Tori, do you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, so tomorrow, the real purpose of it is for students to connect with their pastoral group. And so they will find out their class. They'll get to know their pastoral teacher. It'll be either Chrysoditis or 2 of our other great teachers. And they'll spend the morning really just getting to know each other and beginning to feel comfortable in that group. This might be a good opportunity just to talk about what students could expect from tomorrow as well. So So once they've spent their time doing some get to know you activities, getting to know their pastoral teacher, which is very similar to what your grade 6 classroom teacher would be. You'll also go with your pastoral group and just get a little taste of a couple different subjects like athletics, science, and also you'll do an activity with Louisa for music. After that, you'll do some sports sign-ups in your house groups. So you'll also get to know the people in that house environment as well. And then we'll come together for a lunch, and then that will lead us to 1:30 p.m. where parents will pick us up. So yeah, tomorrow you'll get to know your pastoral group and yeah, hopefully learn a couple new names as well.
Okay, thanks, Tori. And I'm just flicking through a few people who've said that they haven't received the booklet. As I said, we'll take notes on all of those. Another one there also, Tori, maybe just to note down, we might be able to do something about it before next year, is a layout map of the school. So if we can perhaps organise some maps, and they can possibly be emailed in advance next year so that parents can have a look at the map and sort of see where classes are. As we've sort of mentioned, it's pretty straightforward in the sense that there's a sort of year 7 corridor and space where those year 7 classrooms are located, and the specialist rooms is sort of, I guess, the thing to get used to over time, but certainly we can arrange for that. Okay, will the students find out who is in their pastoral group on Welcome Day or orientation? So that's tomorrow. So that is tomorrow. I have a son who finished year 7 this year, and next year I have my other son starting year 7 2023. Do I need to buy the humanities book again? It's quite specific to the humanities book. Bev, you might not have an answer, but it might be one that we can find an answer on and get back.
If it's the same book as last year, then absolutely no. And that'll tell you that on the book list, and it's just that online component of it that might be required by the teacher. So just get your son or daughter to ask the humanities teacher at the beginning of next year.
Okay. Thanks, Bev. The total number of students starting year 7 next year, Terry or Tori, I know that the two of you would have that number off the top of your head.
Yeah, it's 74.
74.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you. Okay, just the parents noting here that it's been challenging to contact Comp now directly. Online indicates long wait periods for MacBook Air, so there might be a hold up there for some reason. So we might want to, well, we do need to take note of that and be aware of it.
Yeah. Just to note as well, we do have a couple devices, a limited number, but we do have a fair amount of devices that we can loan out to families if their device through Comp Now is taking a while to get here. So yeah, we'll follow that up and see what we can do as well.
Thanks, Tori. Tonight's recording, will it be sent out to parents? So yes, it will be. We take these recordings and then turn them into a YouTube viewable, and then that's sent out to parents. Okay, someone in there is just given a bit of detail about BYOD, so I might just scroll past that for a moment. Do students finish early at 1 p.m. on formation day? That's the day next year, Tori. Chris, I see you shaking your head. The day leading into the evening.
Not on formation day. That's still a regular school day, just that it's an alternate program on the day, so it's still a full day. It's the welcome day that they would finish early because it's that 2.5 or 3 hours where they have photos taken on the 1st of Feb.
Sure. Thank you. The next question, I don't think I'm going to have a great answer for it, but it's with the BYOD setup, how do you monitor things like the use of social media and non-school content during school hours? Is it a trust system? I do know the firewall systems that we do have in place, but I don't know the technicality of how that gets installed on our students' BYOD devices. Have you had that experience, Tori, by any chance?
Yeah, so like you said, we've got a firewall in our school setting that blocks any websites that aren't educational. And during Welcome Day, students also sign and read through quite a detailed IT agreement. And boundaries are made very clear about what our device is used for. And what's really important is that all staff members and all teachers are on board in enforcing that. And say theoretically a student was doing the wrong thing on their device, that would be a conversation they would have with either the pastoral teacher or myself, and we would monitor that very closely.
Thanks, Tori. And I do know that does come to IT as well, and they can monitor that and get trend data, and they can certainly see if someone's looking at something inappropriate and in real time and swing into action. Okay, do the girls play male roles in your musicals? Same with the boys, do they play female roles? I've seen it firsthand. Yes, they do in both directions. Louisa, is there anything there that you would add to answer that question?
Yeah, I'd just echo the fact that yes, they can. But what we do, as I said at the very beginning of the year, is we will run auditions, and the students will be able to select which roles that they audition for. And yeah, we'll just have auditions, and myself and Mr. Tollett, the head of drama, will decide on who gets which role. And there is no rules as far as I'm aware. This is the first year that Mr. Tollett and I have run a musical at the college, and we're very open to lots of new ideas and doing something really exciting. So just watch this space.
It's just a sort of classic example of being inclusive. I think that there's no parameters put around how we fill those roles. We haven't had a musical since 2019, so we're absolutely looking forward to it. There's a question here, Tori, I think just asking what do we have to wear? I'm assuming that's for tomorrow.
So tomorrow, information has been sent out to families, but students can just wear comfortable, casual clothes with closed-toe shoes, runners specifically, because we will be doing some physical activity. And just quickly as well, we're providing lunch, but just bring a snack and a water bottle as well. That's it.
And just while we're with you, Tori, do parents need to attend tomorrow or just drop off and pick up?
Yep, so parents are highly encouraged to attend tomorrow. It begins at 8:30 a.m. And we have a couple of things planned for parents, which should run until around about 9:30 a.m. So not long, but we'd really love to connect with you all in person. And students will be ready to be picked up from the Edmund Rice campus at 1:30 p.m.
Okay. We are receiving lots of thanks very much, and thanks for the evening, and thanks for everything you've said and all the rest of it. So that sort of indicates to me that I think we're probably at the end of the questions that people have, and please just rest assured on site tomorrow are all the faces you can see on the screen right now, plus many more. So if there are questions that you haven't asked, you didn't want to ask, or that come to mind at some stage tonight or tomorrow morning, please do so and come and have a chat with us. But I might just pass back to Tori to finish up our evening. Thanks, Tori.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. And thank you everyone for attending this evening. Like David said, don't worry if you can't remember everything from the evening. I know it's a lot of information. And we will distribute this recording to you all, so you might want to rewatch it if you have any other questions or you can't quite remember. I really look forward to seeing you all in person tomorrow at 8:30. And tomorrow it will be a lot less information, and we really will be centralising connection and networking amongst families. And you'll also have a chance to chat one-on-one with a few key figures from this school. So have a really lovely evening. I look forward to having a chat with a lot of you tomorrow, and have a good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.